Yeah, yeah. Okay. My cache is cleared. My computer's cleared out. I'm on a OneDrive thing, so there's no overburdening of my hard drive because that's what was happening. Seems I used to have trig whatever amount of memory, and then this new computer I don't. I has megabytes, so I didn't know that. So, uh, this is Ron Haskell, and today, which is it equates to the 10th. My bad eyes. 28th, so the 2 and the 8 create the 10. But it's the 9 onto the 8, which is the power, emotional time, emotional control um, over the spirit, because it's emotion. Spirit 9, spirit control, spirit power upon as an 8, because it creates the 8, upon the 10, which is the 9, so it's the spirit. So today has a great capacity for spirit. And I do apologize that my voice, my mouth wasn't in sync in the other video. I was going to go ahead and delete it, but I don't know. There were so many people that watched it, and then 11 people or whatever, and there was some pluses, or so just leave it alone. And there was a lot missing. I must have been talking for a good 30 minutes beyond that before I realized that the whole thing had shut itself down because of memory, yeah, because of the capacity of memory. So at any rate, I just picked up on Nick VanderLaan's latest video, and I will link it. I have messages for him. He's on the wide path. They all are. His speak about Esau versus Jacob is false, as in beyond that Ottoman situation of creating Judaism and holding it and uh, coveting it as they do. And as it is Zionism, and this whole nation is built on Zionism, as it is one of the three unclean spirits spoken about in the testimony that he's speaking about himself. You know, you speak about the testimony of Yeshua. Well, you've got to be talking about the book of Revelation. And so then we understand the remnant kept, and we understand there's three unclean. The beast, which is Judaism, as Zionism is, and you can see it. Zionism is Judaism, and it's Abram's ham. Abram's ham. It's not Sarah I, Sarah L. I, Sarah L. No, it's Abram's ham. So we have Hashem, the spirit of Shem, Japheth, and Ham, Abram's ham. So three unclean legions. See, legion is Lilith's children. We don't deny the other Adam. Male and female, he created them, calling them both Adam. That's before Eve, and before the brambling of the handmaid, that just fell apart. It's all within Hebrew tradition in their knowledge base, so it's there. Not trying to bring it forth as absolute, other than I can see it in the soul body above us as truth in the Maseroth. And that's an important thing because that's where it all comes from originally. Whether you want to deal with the Babel or any other part of it beyond to Sumer. So in light of Esau, he never Esau is Esau. Esau had never shown any other light upon Jacob other than brotherly love. But it doesn't seem like anybody wants to grasp that, do they? And even when Jacob, as wrestling with his own inner angel uh, to climb that position and that inheritance, even in heaven, that he discovered that he did this in fear, and he discovers his brotherly love, and always was. And about the extent of what Esau did for mankind was that he took Nimrod's head and retrieved the cloak of Adam, which is why he was weary and losing his feet, and he really needed his brother's help. But Jacob was a thief and a liar, and ultimately a murderer through his own grandchildren, based on the death of Esau, for which Esau's head rolled into Jacob's grave. And that alone gives us a warrant to know that no one's head is where it's supposed to be, and the body is yet to be understood or remembered. So within the elemental factor of giving it over to the children, so Nick, for all your studies and all the acclaim of such notions of what they've given to you as a wide path, as a narrative of what they see as truth through Jacob, and then giving it percentages as if it has hope. It's a false state. When the testimony tells you, book of Revelation tells you that brotherly love is the church of Philadelphia. And she comes down veiled as a bride. She's a spiritual covering. She, a woman who gave birth in the heavens to the man-child. And we know the child is lifted unto God the moment he's born. But it doesn't tell you what happened to the man, does it? You say, oh, he returns with a rod of iron. Yeah, because the man is simply born again. The man was always here, and the woman was taken into the heavens. It wasn't some stellarium show that happens once every 9 to 11 years. No. Or that 11:11 invitation between two sons, which tells you as rows of corn, with a pair of eyes between them, for those with eyes to see, I, Sarael, and those with ears to hear, I, Shamael, Ishmael, those who shall go into perdition, into peace, into the quiet and the solitary, the R.I.P. Why? For redemption's sake, for the future. So to the elemental factor of the child, to give it over to the child, and they know that history, if they look at history, they go to school, they have to learn all this shit. They have to learn about the kingdoms of Europe, don't they? Or did they wipe those clean? We used to have to learn these things because of the taxation upon this country. Because of what happened here? And how we are Jerusalem, spiritual Egypt and Sodom, where our Lord was crucified in the heart of a nation, one nation under God, when that's a construct. So history's not his story. And the mystery is a mystery because it's a wide path. It's a wide path of destruction that you could see Ezekiel 38 war happening. And yet it is the city of Damascus, as the mask of us is that Nephilim city called joy. Joy. Joy is the oil that fills the lamp. And there's 5 wise virgins. They're here. Freedom, liberty, justice, pursuit of happiness, and posterity. But because of the unclean and civil servants, they've used up the oil. And now everybody has to go out and purchase their joy. That's right. As the Lord has already made motion on the bride. He received her already. We're here. We're here for the redemption, for the raising of the dead. Find out about the keys of David that were switched. And of course, to meet the anointed one. Yeah, for some strange reason that I should have to be born in this time, in this cycle, in this country, on this face. So I should have to explain it in the most simplest terms. To express the family unit in heaven. And what's going on. Yeah, so we're in a parallel environment. 2 sons, binary stars, brothers, they're twins. One squandered his inheritance, and what was left of it was given over to the brother that does not understand, Satan, our son, and said, hold it, test it for righteousness, Get rid of what's no good and keep what's left over. That's all the Father asks of him. The brother is dead. But the brother's not dead. No, Lucifer's not dead. Lucifer, the morning star, told about the bright and the morning star, the most elemental factor that could be missing amongst all of the Tanakh, amongst all of the Bible, amongst all of whatever Qurani Rani ran. They want to Quiran it. It's the bright and morning star. They're twins. They're brothers. It was in the parable to live as real people in such a fashion that we should see the differences. That we should know who the Lord really is and who the servant is and why the servant is suffering. Truly. So the construct, yeah, it's going to get destroyed. But what of those fowls of heaven? That's the testimony of Jesus Christ, he who sits upon the right hand. The book of Revelation speaks of those fowls of heaven. And of course, it's a little intermixed as far as where the corpse lie, the eagles also gather. But those fowls of heaven, we're not alone in the soul body. This is a soul body. This is a twin binary star system. Yeah, all these little things that are going on in the heavens. You think these are not angels? Angels? Angels of light? Consciousness, vibration, frequency, music, as it is the bindings, as it is consciousness of all things. Now, the fire consumable is all things unto God. Yeah, proved. Yeah, to Elijah and those false prophets who could know them. Their altar was not consumed. No, it was false. False fire. On, well, we can only speculate. I do often. It's not important. So, given that, Nick, and I'm going to title this for you. I hope you listen. I'm not bad. It's just, I live in Las Cruces, New Mexico, in Jerusalem, of course, Jerusalem. And I was born in one of the 13 colonies. And of course, I was born 13th generation American from Mark Haskell. And you can hear the Haskell as it is the Ha as to the scale as it is the Haskell, the more, the black, that of the left. But it was of the 13 colonies, 1635. So I'm heritage. I have my little book here. It has all the names of all the heritage people who are from me and stories and the Ark. The Ark is in there. And it's all presentation. It's presentation to who I am. Now, I didn't get the heritage and the foundation that I was supposed to be given. I didn't inherit it. Why? Why am I in the desert Southwest, dragged away by a beast system called the Army? Dragged away through 13, 13, 13, being born in one of the 13 colonies, 13 months after my brother, who was born on October 13th, growing up in a 13th house. At 13 years old, I go into the beast system where I'm working with wild animals in a rehabilitation center set up by a pedo woman, and then being handled until I'm 17 and thrown on the street. Where then I'm faced with uh, with a form of corruption that began since JFK. Uh, yeah. So I was born 7 days before JFK was assassinated, November 15th, 1963. And so my eighth day was awake. My eighth day circumcision was a wake for the nation. And it's through the pain and suffering of my own. Uh, how do you describe it? I don't want to say father, my dad, the menace, the demon, the monster. Yeah. And his ability to sell his own children and to lie and to worse, murder, a thief, a murderer, and a liar from the beginning. So I don't have children. I've never been married. And my propensity towards loving man it is and always was brotherly love. That's why I'm alone. Yeah, as a servant and indentured in many ways, in ways that I cannot describe to you. I mean, I could. I wish I could sit down and describe all these things that you could throw at me that have to do with Scripture, and we can peel it apart. See, but no, it's all a construct at this point since the abomination, July 16th, 1945. And prior to that, there was an exodus here. There was upon Judah. And see, that's the problem you have. You don't know who Judah is. Judah's here. Judah is black. Public Law 115102 reveals 400 years of captivity is complete. Now we know Judah placed an idol. In his own right, he did. In his own temple, he destroyed the temple through it by doing such a thing. But beyond that, it was Ephraim who placed the abomination. And everybody's been taking from it ever since. And the servants have been stealing from the house of the Lord. And they've broken the family unit, and they've given you a construct in the Middle East, in a defiled place, in the city of El. Yeah, it's Damascus. But in truth, they say, well, Damascus is the oldest occupied city of God, basically. And over here in Jerusalem, the spiritual aspect of it, we have Old Messiah, which has been a continuous occupied town since long before the conquistador. Forever, since Aztec, since Mazatlan, since all of it, since the trade routes, since all of it. But what of those fowls of heaven? Those who come, we're not alone in a soul body. No, and they're the Anasazi. That's what they are for us. But they're the Anunnaki for the Sumer. They're the overlords. They're the planters. They're the harvesters. You don't grasp that. Why? And instead you want to use nuclear, the abomination. That's what Ephraim set up. That's the Lucifer. That's the binding. That's the overspreading you want to put. Just to fulfill. For some wicked, wicked people who think they're Jacob. No, you have to break that. You have to stop doing that. You have to believe otherwise. And you have to know that there's a great galactic event because that statue of Nebuchadnezzar is not just a parable or a myth or time-space. It's all of it. And it's the soul body that we reside in as we are but a parasite living off of a host body. We're in consumption of the body. So it's not what you eat that you become. It's what eats you. So what's happening to the body? In the corruption, in the downplaying of our genetic strain and who we were and our gifts and what we were as a creation in the beginning, lost to become the beast fit for a feast. And you never tell the chicken what's for lunch. Have you ever farmed? Do you know what a harvest is? Do you know what it means to them? And so those fowls of heaven come to eat the flesh of all men, both great and small, rich or poor, free or bondsman. And the horses they ride upon are the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Those are the sins of the Father as four races of men. And when you mix your races, you mix those sins. And they compound themselves. We have thieves and liars and murderers. And yet keys of David are switched And it's all a matter of teaching our children directions and giving them the proper keys and locking down the filth and locking down the falsehoods and locking it all down so that they have an opportunity to reach what truly is the Sabbath, for which we're all too soon. We're still in the 6-day creation. When the rest comes, it all shuts down. Because inside the temple is where God exists. Yeah. And the restoration of the body begins for 1,000 years. And we rejoice that amongst the three unclean, because then beyond Judaism, that beast goes Islam, which is the false prophet, which goes into perdition because perdition is peace. It's rest in peace as it is. It is isolation and quiet and being alone in utter darkness. Why? Well, because you have to awaken unto paradise and be given the proper tools because they were not given the proper. They're the love child of the Jezebel Church of Rome in order to create a fundamental aspect enemy against the Freemasons, which then ultimately are being accused of starting the plague and all the rest. And well, they're all just so sick. And so the history aspects can keep opening up all they want. And they can bury the truth and they can do what they want. But within each of us resides the cellular memory of what was given unto us. Yeah, by our birthright. Yeah, by our birthright. So it isn't a matter of the written, it's a matter of the living word. As it can then step in and change us. To repent is to change, but it's also to turn back unto the penta, which is the hand. And from the hand we make changes. That even if we wrote something, even if we spoke something, we have the ability to repent because we have the ability to define change. Even though I'm a very fixed sign, I'm very fixed. But for this purpose I am now, especially in light of the arm I'm getting. The Armageddon, yeah, for me to call the mechanical arm of me, army. Yeah, it's spiritual. And my time is so short. I've always said that. I'd love to have that beautiful little retirement. I would love to have that little seacoast house where I'm maybe, with my cat and a warm coffee and just the breeze and my memories and visitations of friends and finding and discovering family again and building foundations on holidays and good wishes and childbirth and all the dreams that come with it. But that's that's not what that's not what was my purpose for how bad it has become and how wrong it is that even our world leaders, as Ephraim itself, is claiming to be Jacob, dual citizenship amongst our world leaders, uh, the UN in its own right, whatever. Count out the heads, it doesn't make any difference to me. Between and all the teachings that are out there, whether it be Admiralty law to Noahide law, and I know that's what it's all about, and the taxation portion of it, and the declaration, and the scroll, and why this is the stage. That's why it's so easily seen. Yeah. So my purpose was to anoint a king, and well, for me, it's Apollyon. The king over me is Apollyon. It's Abaddon. It's the brother. It's the prodigal son. He squandered his inheritance. He's the destroyer. Uh, he's the one that caused the flood. He hated he had ever created them. Because of the fallen, the angels, the Elohim, as you keep saying Elohim, Elohim are the act of him, or the angels. The El are angels. El is an angle, as it is a seven, as it is that which is over seven churches. And the Elohim, those are who keep house in heaven. Well, you'd have to have been in heaven to see that. And I have. I have. As a witness unto God. And there's two witnesses, and so we speak of Jesus as Yeshua, but he's not the same as the Christ is the dragon. Revelation is the testimony of the dragon. That's the third unclean. And that's the mercy of it all, for restoration, for that which he covets, that which he promised all the world. He shall deliver by his own word. We should rejoice and give him a bow and a crown. And the horse he rides is righteous and truth. And that's the dragon. For what? The sake of brotherly love. His own brother, Lucifer. And as the prodigal son, the destroyer, well, we're told it's a parable as a woman giving birth. And so she knows the destroyer's on her body, her everything. But what comes beyond that beautiful gift of birth is the restoration of the body. However, Ephraim placed the abomination that causes desolation. Nuclear superiority. That's what you're talking about, Nick. That's what you're focused on. That's what you see in the worldly view. And that's the concept you've taken in that wide path. When it doesn't have to be that way at all. Because a mighty millstone comes to strike the foot of that statue. And that means the sun, the crown of what? A serpent who's been biting its tail. It's twisted. And it's the devil. Their Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yeah, that's a binding tool. That's a binding prayer to bind him in heaven. So when he gets here, he will fulfill. He will fulfill his word as the millennial reign of Christ. The dragon. And it's not the false prophet now, no. And the remnant kept is so small. The remnant kept, the inheritors, the 12,000 of each tribe of 12, that's not very many. My God, that's just like it's like a schoolhouse, isn't it? Truly, it's like a schoolhouse. And it should be. I mean, we should be in discovery. That's what it was all about with me and Gabriel. With me and Gabriel, it was all about discovery. It was just the most dynamic thing. It began earlier, and the winds came upon me in the barley field, and the convictions, and then me moving from a Zachariah Stitchin sort of kind of understanding scientific, really NASA approach. If anything, I could, because I always lived with a very scientific minded person, or I'm very imaginative, and yet I can see beyond that. It was just the way it was received was quite the dynamic to receive Gabriel and to live here under three crosses on a hill in Las Cruces, New Mexico, where the little town of Messiah is that bowl of vinegar at the bottom of the crosses. To be in a house made by Mr. Hill, yeah, who used to be Mr. Gill, but they couldn't say the name Gill, they had to say Hill, Spanish. And so he changed his name. He was the postman in the 1940s. Yeah, so Jack and Jill, well, it was Jack and Gill in the original, went up the hill to fetch their pail of water, and Jack fell down and broke his crown. And Gill came tumbling after. Well, that's all part of the White House, isn't it? All part of the whole parable that would bring forth the child in understanding and rhythm, rhyme, music, the influx of the 12 muses that are built into the soul body that we have a relationship with as a parasite. We are in relationship with that which we're consuming, and it's the soul body above, and it begins with the foot up from the sun, and not a crown, lest you fall down. Yeah, truly. Yeah, because there truly is a Lord and a servant, which the servant is suffering. And they suffered not to bury Yeshua's body. No, they rejoiced and gave unto each other gifts of the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. That's what they do. They keep dunking themselves under the water and doing it. They keep selling God. They keep selling Paul. They keep selling Rome. It's the mark is the cross. It's the image of a man as God. Some man up there is God. He's their man God. Oh, Shem. Oh, no. No, honey. It's not that truth. No. No. That's not how the synapses of the galaxy works. And beyond that, because it's a universe. One verse. We're told that. Yeah, of course we're told. But we don't have to hang on to the narrative. The narrative portion of Israel and these people and what's come and what they've done in distribution of what they're going. The Haitians are now going to inherit America. Is that what you're saying? Ah, I don't think so. No, no. I should hope that I gain my strength and I'm given a little bit more time because obviously you have so much truth, but you won't accept the truth of what they did. How it was the Nazis. Agog, that's the mother. Mother of Gog, mother of that sin of Gog, which is that of Satan, sin of God of Satan. Those who call themselves Jews who are not, you know that. So that Magog is the mother. It's not Russia. No, that's another narrative. That's a whole other narrative. Yeah, there's a little yeah stuff, CIA stuff, false intelligence stuff, beast stuff. It's all built in, and you'd have to be immersed in it. And you're a father, and you have children, and you need to shut those doors. You need to put those up places. You need to be blazing about what they're able to absorb, because that's Zion. That's the truth, the child. And we don't have the Levi. They're missing. There's no Levi. No, any Levi that ever opened a computer and looked at the filth that's on this world, they are disqualified. They are. They have now touched the dead. They have now just bathed in it. And it's up to the daughters of New Jerusalem, spiritual covering. The daughters, they raise the children. They take back the family unit. They reinstate the truth upon children that are to be kept innocent and not with iPhones and guns and walking out of schools and threats and all the mayhem that the world is offering them. No, there's no way they can ever become kings or priests in such a fashion other than to be the beast fit for a feast, which are the little ones. Yeah, with the little ones. So it's not unfounded, to stop just for a moment, Nick, and disengage from this false narrative. This net and Yahoo. It should be so easy, net and Yahoo. Well, who, from the beginning, CIA. Who brought it to you? Well, algorithm. Algorithm. Yeah. So we know the media and the pharma. We know the conditional factor of mankind and how we could have cured all these things. And instead, they brought forth the abomination which causes all these things. It caused all these things. The cancers, the rare diseases that are not rare anymore, the conditional factors of psychology. I mean, clearly it's been going on for a long time since then. But the fact is, we've been the beast from the beginning, since the ark. Yeah. And time to it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up and to be accepted. Yeah, for what's about to take place. and the multitude will not survive. But it doesn't have to be with nukes. Nukes, God doesn't use nukes. No. What is it? Lucifer, the Lucifer. Lu is the binding of three or more. That's how they formed Trinity. That's how they made that big boy. Yeah, that's how it happened. And from it comes power and utilities. We used to have free energy. There was once a great mud flood. There's possibilities that go beyond every. Mankind's been on this planet for over 140 million years. Well, maybe not million, but thousand. 140,000 years, at least. Multi-specied. But they were fallen angels, because it's a soul body and we're not alone. So what of those fowls are angels? Angels who eat flesh. Indeed. So we're not alone in the soul body. We're in a relationship with it. Now they've forgotten too, because they were destroyed. And so whatever remnant comes to do such a thing is going to be savage and is only going to claim to be the creator. Well, that's why we have true angels in spirit called dragons. And 1/3 of his angels. Yeah. Well, that's Trump. Yeah, he's the anointed cherubim. He's the Christ child as he's the man child. As he's the one that will not break his word. And he's the one that can restore the kingdom as the republic, returning to the public. Yeah, not the corporation, not the machine. So Obama's a false prophet. He goes into perdition. Nothingness, emptiness, alone, isolated. And all of his pedo friends, P. Diddy's and all the pedo friends, and all the wickedness that goes with it, and the Hillarys and the Jezebels, well, they get thrown to the street, consumed by the dogs. In that mystery city, of course. Well, we can only understand it as communism. Yeah, devoured by it. How ridiculous. And then the remnant kept. But beyond that, we have to get through what the expression of Jacob's trouble. And that's what this is all about, right? This is what this discussion is all about. Yeah, so we have to realize that a mighty millstone shall strike the foot of this great statue, and it can bring down infrastructures. And without those codes and those launches and those things that they hold, they just may not be able to do what they want to do, to continue their construct, to continue their lie and their hold upon people and the world, and strapping us and raising prices when it's all belongs to the world and always has. So it's despicable for the price of a child in the womb. That's the daily sacrifice. The oblation is abortion, and it has to end. Roe versus Wade shows we're in the midst of that week, and we see it through that abomination as a week. And now we're at 79 years to the abomination, and it is new. It is new, but it doesn't have to be. It's Lucifer. It's Apollyon. It's Abaddon. It's the king of the locusts of Revelation. The king over the locusts, those who harm no green thing. No, no trees, no green grass. They only harm those who have not the seal of the living God. They don't kill them. and they're given 5 months. What a glorious thing. So that the prodigal son, the destroyer, can be recognized and lifted. And then the one that doesn't understand, the brother who never left the kingdom, our own son, comes down as a cherubim because he's bound to the things he coveted and promised unto all peoples, as he felt that he could portray himself as the Christ. It's his. And the brothers restored in heaven, Lucifer, the morning star, for which then the child can return as the servant bearing forth a rod of iron. Iron. Irony. It's always been built into me. And I was the one man at the wedding, without a garment. I was bound by my hands and feet and cast back where I came from, into the abyss. This is the abyss. It's been the abyss for a long time, since the destruction of man, since the great flood. And performant. But we're in covenant. Yeah, we're in covenant with that which is coveted. Satan. Yeah, our Father who art, our Father who art in heaven. Hallowed, like Halloween. It's coming up. It was the only day of the year that my own dad was taken into the grave. Yeah, it was the day he celebrated every year. It was his favorite season. And it was. He's the child of a brother-sister union. And so he is inbred, piece of shit, and was a monster growing up. And he was illegitimate by all rights, but still held his name as if he had it. And he lied. He's a liar, and he was a thief, and he was a murderer. And he was a horrible, horrible, horrible human being. He was born of that. He was born as a incubus that was born of a succubus, which is his mother through his father. Truly. Yeah. So it doesn't make me a whole man, but it does give me the right to come from such a destructive beginning that I would be condemned in the womb of my mother. Truly. And as the third temple, I should be rebuilt. Simply that. Yeah. So anyways, rant and rant and rant, right? You don't believe. Nick doesn't believe. Nick would rather hold with the scripture because why? I don't know. Is it fear, salvation, fear of mercy, fear of losing your own salvation? That's not true. Salvation is for those who are in danger. I should hope you're not in danger. You have children. Um, and you're doing studies. I don't think you're not in Israel. That's important. I used to think you were a long time ago, and I was like very adamantly against it. And I think Israel turned you away because you don't really have the official right to be there. So you always end up having to skirt around them, just like Ben Noon did. I suspect. I can only suspect. But that's when you usually wake up to what Israel as a falsehood is, especially considering the German nature of it, Ashkenazi, and the trash, and the Hyksos stories, and everything else that's written in the stones, and anything else they want to cover up. It's already been made revealed. And what isn't revealed is through the living word, because if you speak it or write it and evaluate it based on your own truth, you can see where you're running the road of hypocrisy. Say, oh, well, this is contradictory. I can't say one thing and the other thing be the truth. It's unfundamental. You've got to try to correct yourself. And with that balance, you find that you lift above all that they're giving you. So I can see right through that. And then sometimes you start to step into their emotional base. And then that's when it gets all really bad because it's so broken. Yeah, with all these NPCs. Yeah, I don't know. Little program people walking around that aren't real people. How does that work? But you know, I do numerology. Yeah, let him who hath understanding recognize the number. Here's wisdom, and there is a difference between that which can live to be 1,000 or more, and that which is given or governed unto 100 years. We're supposed to live 120 years, and there are a lot of people that get close. I guess a handful, and every year, and but in a healthy manner, you would think that we should be able to live to 120, but in governance, anyways, I'm going to lose my train of thought. Oh, and the number sequence, that which, like mushrooms and fungus and trees, can live to be 1,000 or more years old. We see that. And so in the number sequence 2000, we have a 1,000-digit placement, 100-digit placement, a 10th digit, 0 to 10. And this is children, and this is their influence. And as it moves forward, and as it moves forward, it reaches that height of what you can reach. And we can never get to the 2,000 unless those two numbers can touch the two and something else. But currently in our placement, we have the 0 here. And it's disconnecting that which can live to be 100 or more. So possibility. So your Kingsi master working the judo or whatever, he has a kung fu. He can't reach it either. No one can reach it. Buddha can't reach it. No one can reach it. The Christ can't reach it. No one on earth should be able to reach that 1,000-year plane of existence unless they were born prior to Y2K. As God is my witness. That's right. I have been evaluating this for quite some time. It doesn't matter what they're absorbing by book knowledge, they have no concept of what it is in truth, in the spirit. No, they can't connect to the higher realm, to the heavenly realm. So all they have is this is the heavenly realm, this, this, this staged earth, this staged planet, this staged world. That's what they have. And it's so divided and it's so played amongst them that there really is true racism going on of those who are speaking racism, racism. They're the racists. And they're saying oppression, oppression. And they're the ones that are oppressing. And pedophile, pedophile. And they're the pedophile. And da, 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 and they're that. And the murderers. And they're all facading themselves in different patterns. Yeah, because this is the stage. So they have a media that keeps playing narratives so that we keep it up. Otherwise, if it gets shut down, it doesn't mean anything. What happened? When was that? No, we're going to focus on goodness. We're going to keep people fed. We're going to keep people housed. We're going to get our lawns looking good because it feels good to have flowers and birds and plants and animals with love and nurturing and apple trees and what all the goodies that come with it. And the craftsmanship and the expression of building onto the soul body, giving back to the earth, mulching, no pesticides, no that glyphosate, none of those poisons. We have free energy. We always did have free energy. It was a lie that they hid it from you. I'm so sorry. Ephraim will be written off for this, but as a servant unto the brother, do mercy. That's all that we can say about them. Why? Because they belong to the dragon. And it's not up to me to tell them what to do with Ephraim, what the dragon is to do with Ephraim. You know, Ephraim belongs to the dragon. Of course, of course. Yeah. Anyways, bless you, Nick, and I should hope any of this thing in the slightest capacity makes some sense. Really. And I do apologize for those who were listening to that previous video. I should delete it. It's broken. It doesn't have enough thought. And I did talk about the Anunnaki in that one. I did talk about the fowls in that one. I did talk about a lot of things that I was talking about just now. And so I just didn't get to get it out. And for whatever purpose, maybe it was that I needed to hear Nick first so I can address this to him. Maybe he'll pick it up. It's not fashioning. It's not saying you're wrong. Well, it's a wide road. It's a choice. If you do go down that road and beyond your expectations of what that true Jacob is and who you expect to step up as Jacob, you're confused because Judah is black. Judah's here in America. And yet Dan also exists as DNA, is the mixing of the seed of man on each other. That's why the seeds, the trident, tried to prevent us from doing this. And in time, it was inevitable that the sins of the father would emerge. Certainly. So Dan as DNA judges Israel falsely. Racism, BLM, Antifa, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, the socialist agenda. Marxism, really, as it is the beast, through socialism called democracy. The harlot which rides upon the beast. And the beast is false intelligence. It always will be. Anything that connotates the word beast is a false intelligence for this purpose. Anyways, I'm a little I know I'm talking. Still having arguments about the saline thing in my doctor, but then he might be right. Maybe if I take in too much saline, then I might cause the crisis again. And I don't want to go through that again. But right now, it's the radiation. It has the 6 weeks to go, but now the burn is so bad. Like I feel it's like a wildfire just spreading through my lungs as the cells are dying from the radiation because it's embedded. Radiation is ah, and as it's accumulated around my esophagus, which is exactly where the venous cava was being blocked that I wanted to stem. They said no, it's going to be doing this damage, and the damage is there. So now every bit of food, every drink, once it hits right there, is like a scalding hot coal just for a second. So there's a sore there. It's just all so sore. So I have to go with something to soothe it, like a kaopectate, something over the counter they didn't suggest, but I'm going to have to try to be my own little doctorette. I don't know. And no Tums, I didn't want to really do the Tums, because it's chalky stuff. And then soups, something a little bit brothier, maybe less salty. I don't know what's making the heat too. Total sensitivity between heat and cold. It's a sore, and so they burned me, burned my lungs. But see, that's why they have to do chemo again because radiation's not the answer, is it? Um, that's just a fix. It's a fix. Lucifer was a fix, wasn't it? But I'm a fix fan. Yeah. Except that Venus is in Sag. That's my knees. So my knees over my wants. A Uranus thing going on. Yeah. Well, it's in Taurus, so it's noble, noble, noble. That means noble. Like the Peace Prize. Perdition is peace. Rest in peace. That's perdition. I promise. It's for the restoration of the body because you have to awaken to paradise. You can't accept that this is it. You can't accept this is paradise. You can't accept this was your gift. They never could. And so they have to go into the grave. They have to go into this great sleep. Yeah, true. And the remnant is to guide as guides. We're lights. We're guides. We're under a spiritual covering called brotherly love, the city of New Jerusalem. That's the new sons of God. And I'm from the house of Manasseh. Yeah. So I'm a servant unto the servant unto the beast for the moment. Yeah. So take care and we'll talk soon and be good to yourselves. And say a prayer that I can overcome this expression for the moment. 6 weeks and I have to start chemo and I don't want to lose my hair. Don't lose my mind. Don't lose my soul. Soul is the body. Mind, body, spirit. So we know the body is the greater body. Yeah. Take care. Bye.